how far did we actually come in terms of economics? Did we look at the history or even look at the economics view or thought before? See how much improvement or development did we even got into? What did we make? What is the big process behind it? Or even what happened, the whole big process by the scholars and each and every one of them to give the best and improvement in order to sustain the economics as better to keep moving forward. In this case, this video will be talking about the timeline and its improvement in Islamic economy. Islam has a number of teachings that are relevant to economic and how it should be managed. There are some main principles in Islamic economy include the concepts of riba or usurari, which is charging of interest on loan. This is prohibited in Islam because it is seen as a form of exploitation and a way for the rich to get richer and the poor will be poorer. The concept of economics also do have the importance of the charity and the concept of zakat, which is mandatory tax of wealth on wealth that is used to help the poor and support the community. So the main goal of Islamic economy is to create a fair and just economic system that is based on ethical principle and promotes the well-being of all members of society. Islamic economy is a branch of economics that is based in principle of Islam. It is a holistic approach to economic that seeks to integrate economic activities with ethical and spiritual values and to promote social justice and a welfare for all members and society. As a result, Islamic finance relies on profit-loss sharing rather than interest-based lending and borrowing as a means of financing in economic activity. Overall, the Islamic global economy is a diverse and complex system that is shaped by a variety of economics, culture, political factors, and more. It is characterized by a commitment to an ethical and social responsible by economic practice in the global market. One of the main goals of Islamic economic system is to create more equitable distribution of wealth and to eliminate the exploitation of individual or the resources. In this sense, the Islamic economic system is often seen as an alternative to capitalism or the socialism. Some Islamic scholars have proposed the idea of Islamic welfare state as a way to balance the needs of an individual and the community, while others have argued for a more decentralized market-based approach. It is important to note that there is significant diversity within the Muslim world and there is no one-size-fits-all approach to Islamic economics. Different countries and communities may have their own unique interpretation of this principle and how it should be applied in practice. The Western perspective on economics is characterized by an emphasis on free market or individual economics freedom and the role of private enterprise in driving economic growth. This perspective has its roots in classical liberal ideas of economics such as Adam Smith, who argued that an economic based on free exchange and the profit motive would lead to the most efficient and fair distribution of goods and service. Western economic systems are often characterized by a mix of a private and government regulation, with the goal of balancing the need for economic growth with social and environmental responsibilities. It is also referred to the economic theories, models, practice, that they have developed in the Western world, particularly in Europe and North America. This approach to economics are based on the principle of capitalism, which emphasize the importance of free market, private property, and pursuit of profit. This means that the market is seen the best mechanism for all allocating resources and determining the price that the government intervention in the economics should be kept to a minimum. Other key ideas in the Western perspective in economics include the concept of supply and demand, the role of competition in driving the innovation and efficiency, and the importance of monetary policy in managing the economy. The study of philosophical and theoretical foundation of various philosophers in the discipline of political economy and economics from ancient to the present is known as the history of economic thinking. Many economic theories that are still used in modern economics were created in the 10th and the 15th century during the Islamic economic theory that is first developed. Many scholars trace the history of economic thought through the Muslim world, which create a golden age from the 8th to 13th millennia, and those philosophy continued to work on the Greek and Hellenistic thinkers, which came to influence the Aquinas when Europe uncovered Greek philosophy through the Arabic translation, according to study from the Wikipedia. Abu Yusuf, who wrote about taxation, public finance, agriculture output, as well as Ibn Khaldun, who discussed the importance of division of employment and pricing system, are just two of the many notable Islamic scholars who have made contribution to financial theory. Al-Ghazali, Al-Farabi, and Ibn Sina, among others, address the division of labor and families, society, professions, and even countries. Even community needs at least some basic resources. Thus, according to Farabi, an ideal society can only be formed through domestic, regional, and international trade, which can be an advantageous for all parties involved. The recent piece of literature on the evolution of economic concept and their background in Islam, out of all 50 publications that relates to scholars' opinion, the main takeaway from each are these articles that are connected to the issue in Islamic economy, historical perspective on the Islamic economic and contribution of the Muslim academics and those current scholars, as well as policy and physiology. In a way of development in economic ideas and their history in Islam, the policy and the theory do play a huge role in determining the right way to move forward and to sustain the economic ideas of the article based on research with deed necessary. The second objective about this historical and economic development in Islam as the outcome of the effort of Muslim scholars. Every scholar's ideology and way of thinking matter, since it has an impact on how the view and the future and what they have learned from very inspection of Islamic economy. It is equally important to have the topic on issues in Islamic economy that to be discussed so that we can establish a shortfall to replace and get scholars' opinion based on issue that have been discussed in order to address the issue that are being faced in Islamic economy to develop the Islamic economy worldwide. Overview from all article touched down on discussing the modern scholars' contribution, and it's interesting when it relates to modern and Islamic scholars' contribution to develop the Islamic economy. The idea is supported by numerous research institutions, universities, publications. Among all of them, that works linked to evolution of economic ideas in their history in Islam, while this also indicates the conventional economics and the Islamic economy contribution towards moving to the future for the global economy. Islamic economic thought does have a rich and extensive collection of literature, a history that perhaps has an old as a standard economic system, and several scholars towards whom one can turn for guidance. Many books and articles serve as a reminder of historical contribution by the Muslim scholars in Islamic economic thinking. Economic systems have evolved over time, and different societies have used variety of economic systems to organize the production, the distribution, and even the consumption of goods and service. Now, here is the interesting thing. This timeline provides true overview of all the stages at the macroeconomic level. So let's go where it all started according to this phase. The first ever phase, called prehistoric phase, where the society in the earliest human society, people likely aged a form of an economic activity that is known as a barter, in which they exchange good in service that directs to with one another without the usage of money. The second phase, where it is being introduced in an agricultural phase on those society. As society became more complex and people become more specialized in things like certain occupation, a system of exchange that is known as barter. In this system, people would produce goods and service in exchange for them for other goods and service that they needed. After a few ages, there was a new establishment that is called the feudal system. Moving on to the third phase. This third phase that indicates feudal system during the Middle Age time. The feudal system emerged in Europe. Under the system, people worked the land in exchange for protection from their lord. The lord in return was responsible for protecting the people from invaders. Those eras are the ages where the form of a new era in the economic world, but it started small in the Middle Age. Next will be mercantilism season, where it is in 16th and 17th century, the economic system of mercantilism became popular. Under this system, countries sought to increase their wealth by exploring more goods than they imported and the accumulating gold and silver. Following by the Industrial Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, which began in the 18th century and continued into 19th century, brought about major changes in a way that our goods are produced. The development of factories and the use of machines to produce the goods lead to increase the efficiency and lower cost. After some gap, the well-known word for the current world is capitalism. That is in the 19th and 20th century, the economic system of capitalism became dominant in many countries. Under capitalism, private and individual and businesses own the means of production and the free to produce and sell goods and service for profit. Continued by the socialism in the late 19th and early 20th century. The economic system of socialism emerged as an alternative to capitalism. Under socialism, the means of production are owned and controlled by the state or the community as whole. The goal is to meet the needs of people rather than maximizing the profit or mixed economics, as in many modern economics are mixed economics, which combine elements of both, which are capitalism and socialism. In mixed economy, social economic activities are controlled by the government while others are left to free the market. The development occurs by the continuation of the research and improvement that has been taken place regarding all the mishaps and loopholes that any sector can contribute. As the world has been moving on with sustainable economic development, and the growth is always better to analyze the issue more and to find the solution with the guidelines or reference that has been worked on by previous intelligent scholars around the world across the timeline of the growth in economic system. The timeline which we have been thinking and talking about is the significant occasion and advance in the development of Islamic economy in comparison with the conventional modern economy at the macro level economy. In small brief, would like to say during the 622 century, the Hijrah, which the migration of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his followers from Mecca to Medina marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar. During the 7th century, the concept of zakat, an annual charitable tax, was introduced as a way to redistribute the wealth and address the inequality in the Muslim community. In continuation of 8th century marks the first Islamic empire, the Umayyad Caliph, is established, and the principle of Islamic finance, including the prohibition of riba, which is the interest, are codified. In the 10th century, the concept of waqaf, the charitable endowment of property for those religious and charitable purpose, was introduced by the following that are in the 13th century, where it came by the Mamluk Empire in Egypt, which then established a sophisticated system of state-controlled finance, including the issuance of a standardized currency all over the era. During the 14th and 15th centuries, the Ottoman Empire established a complex system of tax farming in which private individuals are granted the right to collect the taxes in return for the share of the revenue. In short, this also impacted the whole economic system in the world, and it takes time to make another research on different views upon the establishment that have been made. In the 20th century, Islamic economy became a subject of an academic study, and the first Islamic bank were established. Hence, in the 21st century, the global Islamic finance industry continued to grow, with an increasing number of mainstream financial institutions offering the Islamic finance product. In the end, it can be stated that the timeline and its improvement are equally significant as other factors in the development in the Islamic economic system. To avoid making the same challenges that are faced by previous scholars, we must refer to the progress and decide on how far have we come and how far can we go. Let's get our Islamic economic system to have a prosperous improvement towards an ideal one, hoping to learn from our timeline in history.